Welcome back to Narrations. Tonight's story is glossy, loud, emotional, and surprisingly sad beneath all the pink dresses and wedding magazines. Bride Wars isn't really about weddings. It's about friendship, the kind that grows with you, shapes you, and then almost breaks when two people want the same dream at the same time. This is the story of Liv and Emma Allen, best friends, brides, and rivals. It begins with a window. Two little girls stand outside the Plaza Hotel in New York, their noses practically pressed to the glass. Inside, a wedding unfolds, white flowers, soft music, a bride glowing as she walks across the room. Everything looks perfect, untouchable, magical. Liv and Emma Allen watch in silence. For Liv, the scene feels powerful, controlled, prestigious. The kind of moment that says you've made it. For Emma, it feels romantic, emotional. Like something out of a story she wants to live inside forever. They turn to each other and make a promise, simple, innocent, absolute. Someday, they'll both get married here. Together. Best friends side by side. At that age, promises feel permanent. And in many ways, this one is. Years pass, and Liv and Emma grow up inseparable. Sleepovers, shared clothes, whispered secrets, inside jokes no one else understands. They don't just spend time together, they grow into each other's lives. But even as they move through the same years, they grow into very different women. Liv is driven early. Competitive. Focused. She wants more, success, recognition, achievement. She thrives on control, on being the best, on knowing exactly where she stands. As an adult, she becomes a powerful lawyer, respected and feared in equal measure. Winning isn't just a habit, it's an identity. Emma is softer, patient, thoughtful. She becomes a teacher, drawn to helping others, often at the cost of her own needs. She's the friend who listens, who compromises, who adjusts herself to keep the peace. Her happiness comes from harmony, not dominance. For years, this difference works. Liv leads. Emma supports. Liv decides. Emma agrees. It's never spoken aloud, but the balance is clear and familiar. They talk about marriage the way people talk about something inevitable. Not urgent. Just assumed. The Plaza Hotel remains a shared dream, referenced casually, like something that will naturally fall into place one day. Both women are in long-term relationships. Liv dates Daniel, dependable and patient, someone who fits neatly into her structured life. Emma dates Nate, warm and loving, someone who sees her fully, even when she doesn't see herself. When the proposals come, they come close together, almost poetically so. Liv is proposed to with intention and confidence. Emma's proposal is tender, emotional, full of affection. And when they tell each other, the moment feels electric. They scream, cry, hug, spin in circles. Both are getting married. In June. At the plaza. Together. It feels like destiny rewarding loyalty. They imagine planning side by side, dresses, flowers, fittings, shared excitement. For a brief moment, it feels like the childhood promise is unfolding exactly as it should. They hire Marion St. Clair, the most elite wedding planner in New York. She's flawless, efficient, intimidating. Everything she touches becomes perfect. And then, quietly, everything begins to unravel. A scheduling error. Both weddings are booked for the same day. At the same venue. There is no backup date. No 2nd June. Only one bride can keep the dream. At first, they try to be reasonable. They sit down with coffee, voices calm, listing options like adults who believe compromise is possible. But beneath the polite words, tension builds. The wedding isn't just an event, it's a symbol. For Liv, it represents achievement. Proof she's reached the pinnacle. For Emma, it represents validation. Being chosen. Being celebrated for once. Neither wants to say it out loud. But neither wants to give it up. Liv assumes Emma will move her date. Emma assumes Liv will understand. Neither does. The first argument is quiet, controlled, civil, the second isn't. And somewhere between dress fittings and planning meetings, friendship turns sharp. Small acts of sabotage begin, subtle enough to deny, intentional enough to wound. A ruined cake tasting. A dress altered incorrectly. Flowers delivered wrong. Each incident is dismissed as stress, accident, misunderstanding. But the tone changes. They stop confiding. They stop laughing. They start keeping score. Emma, who has always been to keep the peace, begins to resist. For the first time, she chooses herself, and the unfamiliarity of that terrifies her as much as it empowers her. Liv, unused to resistance, tightens her grip. She fights harder, convinced that backing down means losing, not just the wedding, but status, identity, control. The weddings become battlefields. Friends are dragged into the conflict. Conversations turn tense. Joy drains from moments that were supposed to feel sacred. The shared dream becomes a zero-sum game. And beneath the dresses, the venues, the dates, something much older and deeper is breaking. They aren't fighting about weddings anymore. They're fighting about who gets to be important. Who gets to be celebrated. Who has always mattered more. Neither is ready to admit it. But both feel it. Once the balance breaks, it doesn't quietly repair itself. It fractures. What started as tension beneath polite smiles becomes open warfare, and Liv and Emma no longer pretend otherwise. Every interaction now carries intent. Every decision feels strategic. The wedding planning that once felt joyful becomes a series of calculated moves, each designed to outdo, unsettle, or undermine the other. They stop asking how the other is doing. They start asking what the other is planning. Liv approaches the conflict the only way she knows how, aggressively, decisively, with the belief that if she pushes hard enough, she'll win. She uses her resources, her planner, her influence. She treats the wedding like a case she needs to dominate, convinced that yielding would mean weakness. Emma changes too, and this is what surprises everyone. The woman who has always compromised, always softened herself for others, begins to stand her ground. At first, it feels unnatural, almost clumsy. She second-guesses herself. Feels guilty. But something inside her refuses to bend this time. This wedding isn't just about a venue anymore. It's about being seen. The sabotage escalates. Hair is dyed the wrong color. A dress is ruined beyond repair. Invitations are altered. Each act crosses another invisible line, pushing them further from the friendship they once shared. They justify it easily, telling themselves the other started it, the other deserves it. Their partners begin to notice. Daniel watches Liv with growing concern. He sees how consumed she's become, how rigid, how unyielding. The woman he loves is still there, but she's buried under obsession and pride. He wonders, quietly, whether this wedding is about marriage at all, or about proving something she's been trying to prove her whole life. Nate watches Emma transform. At first, he's proud, happy to see her finally choose herself. But as the conflict grows uglier, he begins to worry too. Emma's kindness hardens into resentment. Her gentleness sharpens. She's standing up for herself, yes, but at a cost. Neither Liv nor Emma realizes how much they're losing. Friends pick sides. Conversations become awkward. The joy that once surrounded both weddings drains away, replaced by anxiety and dread. What should have been a shared celebration now feels like a countdown to disaster. And then, it explodes. The breaking point arrives publicly, violently, and humiliatingly. In a moment of uncontrolled anger and hurt, Liv and Emma confront each other in front of everyone who matters, friends, family, strangers. The fight spills out in words that can't be taken back, accusations rooted in years of unspoken resentment. Liv throws Emma's long-held role back at her, the follower, the agreeable one, the friend who always stood behind. Emma fires back with the truth Liv has never wanted to hear. That the friendship has never been equal, that Liv has always expected to be chosen first, to be more important, to win. The silence afterward is devastating. because both know it's true. The fallout is immediate. The weddings are called off. The dream, the plaza, the promise, the childhood fantasy, collapses completely. Liv and Emma walk away from each other not as rivals, but as strangers, carrying grief that has nothing to do with wedding dresses. In the quiet that follows, reality sets in. Liv is left alone with the wreckage of her choices. Without the fight, without the competition, she has to face the truth she's been avoiding, that winning has cost her something irreplaceable. Control didn't protect her. It isolated her. Emma retreats inward. She grieves the friendship more deeply than the wedding. Standing up for herself felt necessary, but the aftermath feels hollow. She wonders if asserting her needs always has to end in loss. Time passes. Slowly, painfully. Both women begin to understand what they were really fighting for. Not the venue. Not the date. Not the spotlight. They were fighting for validation. For reassurance that they mattered. That they were chosen. That they were enough. When Liv and Emma finally meet again, it isn't dramatic. It's quiet. Awkward. Honest. There are no accusations left, only regret and understanding. They speak carefully at first, then more openly. Apologies come without excuses. Pain is acknowledged without minimizing it. They see each other clearly for the first time in years. Not as rivals. Not as reflections of childhood promises. But as two women who grew up, imperfectly, unevenly, and loved each other without knowing how to do it fairly. They let go of the plaza. They let go of the dream as it once existed. And in doing so, they saved something far more important. Their friendship. When the weddings finally happen, they look nothing like the fantasy two little girls once imagined through a glass window. They are smaller. Messier. Real. And they are filled with something that was missing before. Joy. Bride Wars isn't really about weddings. It's about growing up, and learning that some dreams have to change so the people we love don't get lost inside them. Sometimes the greatest victory isn't winning. It's choosing each other. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this narration, please like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next story.